In the VIP section was a prettily set table with refreshments for the upper crust. There was tea, punch, tall crystal glasses of what could have only been champagne, delicate sandwiches shaped like hearts, and trays of tarts and biscuits. Ironically, the other sections also had food, pie and cider and the like, but these were sold by vendors. The refreshments for the rich were free. More Wonderland nonsense, Alice thought. Hey fam, so it's time to finally talk about Unbirthday. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Twisted Tales, it is a series of books. Each is standalone in the series, so you don't have to read them in any particular order. But the basic idea is that they're taking the original animated Disney classic movies and twisting them in some kind of way. A lot of them, not all, have been aged up. There's a few that are more middle grade, I believe, but a lot of them have been aged up to be more like young adult. Um, and so far, I really like pretty much all of them. Don't read the Frozen one. See my review on that hot mess. But they've all been pretty fun so far, aside from that one. This one, I have to say, of the five that I've so far read, this is my favorite. I have about 130 pages left. I'm really excited to see how it ends, but I just wanted to get some thoughts out before I do that. Because, y'all, all right, first off, if you decide to read Unbirthday, I highly, highly, highly recommend rereading the original Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. Yes, this is based on the animated Disney movie. However, I think maybe because there's more original content that's in the public domain for Liz Braswell to go off of or pull from. I also think maybe this is one of her personal favorite, like old school, I don't know, children's stories. It's not really a fairy tale, but you know what I mean? I think it might be one of her favorites. I'm not sure, but she did a fabulous job. And I've heard that she has her own Alice in Wonderland retelling, which I'm definitely going to have to track down and read because I'd love to see her take on that too. I can tell that she pulled from the original works as well, and not just in the way that she created Wonderland and expresses it, because she definitely adds her own elements to Wonderland in this. However, they all flow perfectly. They all feel like native Wonderlandians. You know, they all feel like they belong there. The land, everything. Like I said, some of it is it's more aged up. So this one is written more like a sequel instead of a twisted version of the original. So in the original Alice in Wonderland, she's like 6, 7 years old. In this, she's 18. Officially, according to this version, it's been like 11 years since she was in Wonderland last, when she first starts going. And she spends a lot of time going back and forth between Angleland, not England, Angleland, her world, and Wonderland in this book. And it's really interesting. I love how she's like figuring out kind of how to navigate in Wonderland. Like in the originals, she's very confused, and she, like, there's weird rudeness in the conversations with everyone she interacts with. Again, watch my review on Alice in Wonderland for some of my thoughts on how Lewis Carroll wrote that and kind of what the point of the whole story was. There's people that like to equate it to either drug use or her being Alice being insane or something. If you read it, honestly, it literally just reads like a little girl having a dream. And I think that that's really all that he meant by it. It was a children's story. By the end of the books, like it makes it very clear that she was just dreaming and where the elements in her dream came from. And I feel like, again, I haven't finished it, so I'll get back to you on exactly how I feel about the ending, spoiler free. But so far, reading this, it feels very much like that same kind of dream world vibe. Um, Braswell did an amazing job of writing in the same kind of style that Lewis Carroll wrote. The conversations that Alice has with herself while she's trying to figure things out, or when she goes into Wonderland, the conversations that she has with the other characters that she meets there, and the kind of weird nonsensical back and forths that they have. And as far as the nonsense goes with all the wordplay and everything, Braswell did amazing, spot on, just so good. A lot of the nonsense in Wonderland really just boils down to, wordplay. Is this like, oh, this word that's spelled the same as this other word, but they have totally different meanings, and it'll be playing like in the conversation with that. And reading the original content and then reading this after, because like this is a 505-page book. So being in that kind of mindset for such a prolonged period of time, you actually start and she mentions this in this book, like for Alice herself, she's starting to think in this more wonderlandy kind of way, with the nonsensical kind of thinking actually almost making sense to her. And it's a really hard thing to explain unless you just read these books, and then like you'll probably see what I'm saying. But yeah, I love how she has the dreaminess down too. With, it's like, how when you're having a dream, you can go from scene to scene, and the scenes themselves don't necessarily connect, or things will just randomly appear or change while you're experiencing the dream, and it doesn't make a lot of sense until the very end. Lewis Carroll did that in the originals, and I feel like, again, I'm really excited to see how this ends, because I feel like she's kind of headed in the same direction. She's doing a really good job so far. And so, something that I wasn't a huge fan of in Tim Burton's remake. Now, I like Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland remakes for different reasons. He took a lot of elements and stuff, but one thing I didn't like about it is that he did kind of turn it into a regular fantasy, like the big bad villain and like the chosen one, and you have to find the thing to kill the bad guy and all this stuff, right? And Wonderland itself is a very different kind of fantasy. It's not supposed to be so act one, act two, act three kind of structure, right? And so I'm a little nervous that maybe she's trying to do something like that, but also because of the overall weirdness of Wonderland, I feel like she won't be able to do that. At least like the way that she's written this so far, I don't think that it's going to have that kind of ending, but again, I haven't even gotten there yet, so I guess there's no real point talking about it. Something else, though, that I definitely wanted to talk about, because I'm really, really, really loving it in this book, is how, like I said, Alice is going back and forth between Wonderland and Angleland, right? And so the original works were written in like 1865. So I think that this is supposed to be set in probably like the 1870s of England. She doesn't actually say a specific year, but she talks about the outfits they wear and all this. And this book really goes into the politics of that time historically, where England was going through a lot of kind of a rise in nationalism and anti Semitism. And the way that she is talking about the politics of her world, and like this guy who's running for mayor who feels very much like some of our own politicians in America right now, in the United States, I should say, right now. So it feels very like relevant to our modern times. In a lot of different ways. And then she has a lot of these moments that are, whether it's in Angleland or in Wonderland, she'll have these moments where, in conversation with another character, like Liz Braswell does this kind of like, I don't know, almost like tongue in cheek kind of. Let me just read you an excerpt so kind of have an idea what I'm talking about. Here we go. The knave gave her a brilliant smile. I am but a knave, with no power to say in these things, the pursuits and glories of kings and queens, the game of thrones. Whatever happens, I intend to stay on top until the very end. What a pleasant philosophy! It allows you to feel no guilt and just float along with whatever those in charge decide, leaving you free from thought or duty beyond the next moment. So it's little things like that that I'm really enjoying. And yeah, I love that it's kind of like, I don't want to say preachy. She's not being preachy, but she's definitely pointing out like, this is silly. This is nonsense. This is our real world, and there's nonsense going on in it. And so, yeah, again, I think she just did such a fantastic job. I'm really, really excited. I'm going to go finish up the last 120, 130 pages, and I will be back very shortly to let you guys know how I feel about the ending. Can't wait. Okay, you guys. Yes, hands down, best twisted tale I've read so far. The ending was brilliant. So far, with any twisted tales I've read, by the time I get to the last 50 pages or so, I'm like ready to be done with the story, and I'm kind of like, wow, I can't believe this is still going on. With like the longer ones specifically, like some of them do feel a bit long. Um, but this one, I feel like with the amount of action that was going on through so much of it, like straight up until the end, I didn't feel like I was trying to rush through to see what was going on. I was just enjoying myself the entire time. And I literally, yeah, for like a very brief moment in like the last chapter, because there's also an epilogue, but for a brief moment in the very last chapter, I literally started tearing up. It was so just it was just so heartwarming and sweet, and because of my own passions, I guess, regarding our real world and some of the things that this does discuss, yeah, it was so wholesome. It was so wholesome. Just yes, if you want a really amazing Alice in Wonderland retelling that is not super dark and vibes very much like the original, read Unbirthday. Highly recommend it. You guys, it was so good. So, I am probably going to be taking a bit of a break from Twisted Tales for a minute now, because if you saw one of my more recent videos, I just went on a huge book haul on a bunch of historical fiction, because springtime is always the time of year where I am just like, I want some historical fiction. I have a few books that I have just started. But yeah, I do plan on getting back to the Twisted Tales eventually. They're right there behind me. I still have a lot to read in regards to them. But yeah, I'm really excited. So stay tuned if you're interested. I have a lot more exciting topics to talk about as far as both writing advice and book discussions. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to all my subscribers. If you've read this, what did you think about Unbirthday? If you've read any of the other Twisted Tales, where does this one fall for you? I'm curious. Um, Let me know in the comments below. And if you are new here and you want to see more content like this, please like, share, subscribe, all the things. And I will talk to you guys real soon. Bye.